3,000 years ago, Mount Vesuvius buried more than Pompeii. In the nearby town of Herculaneum, heat and volcanic debris engulfed a luxury Roman villa with a library inside. Hundreds of papyrus scrolls survived, but only in the cruelest possible form. They were carbonized. To the naked eye, many now look like lumps of charcoal or burnt logs. Their pages are crushed, folded, and fused together. For centuries, scholars faced an impossible choice: leave the scrolls closed forever, or try to open them and risk destroying the words inside. Some early attempts did exactly that. Delicate outer layers tore away, while the deeper pages remained trapped in a blackened core. The library survived the eruption, but not in a form anyone could safely read. Then, researchers tried something stranger. Instead of unrolling the scrolls with their hands, they began unrolling them with X-rays, geometry, and artificial intelligence. And in 2026, they announced a milestone that would have sounded impossible only a few years ago. A Herculaneum scroll had been digitally unwrapped and read from beginning to end. So how can a computer read a book that cannot safely be opened? The problem begins with papyrus itself. A papyrus scroll is not one solid object. It is a long, thin sheet rolled tightly around a core. But after Vesuvius, these sheets were heated, crushed by volcanic material, and damaged over centuries underground. Inside a scan, the pages do not look like neat circles. They look like a tangled maze of dark, overlapping layers. Finding the text is hard. Finding the page that holds the text is often harder.
A high-resolution CT scan can look inside the sealed scroll without cutting it open. It creates a three-dimensional volume made of countless thin slices, like an extremely detailed medical scan. But seeing the layers is only the first step. Someone or something has to trace one continuous sheet of papyrus through that three-dimensional maze. Follow the wrong layer for even a moment, and the digital page can jump from one winding to another, producing a warped sheet that never existed. Once researchers isolate a section of the buried page, software builds a digital surface over it. Then it flattens that surface, turning a curled, crushed spiral inside a carbonized cylinder into something closer to a readable page. This process is called virtual unwrapping. But even after the page is flattened, there is another brutal obstacle. The ancient ink was carbon-based. The papyrus was also carbonized by the eruption. In an ordinary X-ray image, ink and burnt papyrus can look frustratingly similar. The letters are not glowing beneath the surface like a hidden message in a movie. In many cases, the signal is so faint that a person looking at the scan cannot reliably see the writing at all. That is where machine learning enters the story. The AI is not given a Roman dictionary and asked to invent missing sentences. It does something more limited and more useful. It searches the digital surface for subtle physical patterns associated with ink, tiny changes in texture, shape, and X-ray signal that may reveal where strokes once lay on the page. Think of it as trying to find faint handwriting impressed into blackened fabric, using clues too small and too repetitive for the human eye to follow consistently. The computer highlights probable ink, then human experts take over. Papyrologists, scholars trained to read ancient texts, inspect the recovered marks, identify letters, reconstruct damaged words, and decide what can honestly be translated. The AI finds possible traces. It does not understand Greek, philosophy, or Roman history. That distinction matters. Without scholars, a machine-generated pattern could become a confident-looking mistake. Without the computational tools, scholars might never see the pattern at all. The Vesuvius Challenge turned this problem into a global competition. Teams of programmers, imaging specialists, mathematicians, historians, and classicists worked on different parts of the pipeline. Sharper scans, better surface detection, more accurate flattening, and more reliable ink recovery. Progress arrived in stages. In 2023, researchers revealed the first letters from a sealed Herculaneum scroll. Then came readable passages. In 2025, work on another scroll revealed a title and author attribution linked to the Epicurean philosopher Philodemus. Then, in June 2026, the team announced the first Herculaneum papyrus to be digitally unrolled and read continuously from end to end, P-Herc 1667. The preserved portion revealed roughly 1.4 meters of papyrus and about 22 columns of Greek text. The writing appears to be a Stoic philosophical work about human nature, impulse, learning, and moral progress. It is damaged, fragmentary, and still being studied,
but it is no longer silent. That is the real breakthrough. Not every scroll has been read, not every letter is clear, and AI has not suddenly solved every mystery of the ancient world.
More than 600 Herculaneum rolls still remain unopened and unreadable. They belong to the only large-scale library from classical antiquity known to have survived. Some may contain familiar philosophical works. Others may preserve texts we thought were lost forever. Some may be too damaged for current methods. But the boundary has moved. For nearly 2,000 years, these scrolls seemed preserved and inaccessible at the same time. Vesuvius had not erased them, but it had locked them inside their own ruins. Now, science is learning how to pick that lock without breaking the book. The eruption turned a library into charcoal, but it did not turn its words into nothing. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more science explainers about history, technology, and the hidden story still waiting to be read.